Call this pre-meeting briefing of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District Board of Trustees to order at 6:00 p.m. on February 1st, 2018. The purpose of this pre-meeting briefing is to conduct a briefing session with administrative staff regarding the posted agenda for the regular board meeting scheduled for 7 p.m. on February 1st, 2018. For the record, all board members are present with the exception of Tara Herbachic, who will be here shortly. Board members, do you have any questions regarding consent agenda items? Mr. Shack.
Actually, a comment and a couple of questions, and we'll hope that somebody actually watches this on video. One of the things that's in our consent agenda is the notice where we are approving an interlocal buying agreement with Region 10. It's a pro forma piece and all that, and it deserves the approval of the board. But what my point is, and I hope that everybody in the community understands, is that this district, our staff, and the support of this board works very hard to stretch our pennies and do the best thing we can do. And you know, they actually had some examples in there of different buying arrangements and how it saves a little bit here and a little bit there. And it's just a consent agenda item. It doesn't need a lot of discussion, but it is one of those things. So hopefully there's lots of folks out there in the district that watch this, because this staff and this board in our district works very hard to be fiscally responsible. I wanted to say that because I was looking at that. I did have a couple of questions on item J, the audit firm. I noticed that it appears that we are again recommending the same firm that we've used for a lot of years. And I know we talked a while back when I had the opportunity to serve on the committee several years ago. They do a great job, and there is no question about their integrity or what they're doing, but I also know that at some point in time, it usually is procedure to occasionally change firms and get another set of eyes in here to look on things. I don't think there's anything for them to find, but I'm wondering if we ought to address that and ask the question. And then the second question I had was on the consider the purchase of video consultation equipment. Last month we had approved in the purchasing a $30,000 item for video and voiceover. Is the $30,000 in this piece part of that 30? Because this time it said something about previous 41,000 and then an additional 30 here for a total of 71, or is that, are we now talking about 100,000 and all this? And I'm kind of curious what all that is, because we're getting where we're spending a lot of money on things like video and PR and promotion. And again, I know this board is very concerned that we also are keeping our priority in the classroom. So those were my questions.
Why don't we go in reverse order, we'll answer that one first.
Okay.
Sure, I'm happy to.
Dr. Warnock, you want to address that one, and then Ms. Tillman will address the second.
Absolutely. So the additional money that we would be requesting, we already have in budgeted funds, so it exists. The money is there to pay for the additional expense. But the additional $30,000, it wouldn't be 100. The total amount is that 71,000.
Okay.
And that is to produce film for us to use in professional development. We've been spending about $20,000 to purchase videos from other professionally created classroom instruction videos to use in our new hire orientation. But we think that we have incredible teachers here in CFB, and there's a higher value and impact for our training if we're filming teachers here in CFB to use, to have our teachers be able to view. So that's what that expense is. And I don't know if Ms. Brown is here, but I think the expense in creating, we live in a visual society, you know, where to reach the consumer, we have to be having visual footage of the things that are happening to be able to share the great news about what's happening in our school district to encourage families to come and enroll. And the era of school choice, we think, is forcing us to think differently about schools, about how we market our programs so that people know that CFB is the choice. We see charter organizations that have sometimes $500,000 up to $1 million of funds put into marketing. While they might not have the programming quality, once you're in the door, they're able to engage consumers in ways that we're trying to compete with, so that we have students coming to CFB. So that's the thinking behind that. And again, that we want to highlight the great teachers in our own classrooms and use that to build our video footage. And we don't have the staff capacity to create those in-house.
It certainly is appropriate to bring our folks in there and have folks who understand our brand and what we're about doing that. I'm a little concerned about the cost. I'm also a little concerned about the production quality, because you don't get much video for $100,000. And, we've got to make sure that we keep staff focused on what we do and be careful about not getting far afield and trying to make video and all of that stuff. So that'd just be my encouragement. I won't pull this item, and I think I'm happy to support it, but I do want us to, as a district, make sure that we're not spending a lot of staff time. We will compete best with charter schools when our product is exemplary. And that's, so trying to make $100,000 worth of videos may or may not work, but I'm hoping that it'll have good shelf life and it will be amazing quality that would be representative of what we do.
The videos that we've been showing as part of our achievement presentations are the part of the production of this company, so we see those really as high quality footage. And I thank you, the staff's attention. We've been trying to do some of these videos ourselves, and it takes our focus off the main thing. So outsourcing this really allows us to keep staff attention focused on what we need to do, so that the company who's best at that can do that, and we can focus on the classroom instruction.
And the second item, Ms. Tillman, you want to address that?
Yes. We did discuss with the audit committee, and going back to when you served on the audit committee, similar discussion at the point you were on the committee. Mr. Hyatt had just left, and unfortunately our turnover in the accounting department didn't end there, so we had several retirements and departures after that. So we continued to grow with new people in the division, so that makes it challenging as you're performing your audit to have new people trying to train new auditors. So we really wanted to avoid that situation. I think we counted up 6 or 7 positions that were with people with relatively new responsibilities, not necessarily new to the district. And then we also had one person out for more than 6 months. So we had a group that's generally 4 running with 3 for half years. So they were really stressed. So we'll have a new person going in there this next year. So we just really felt like it would give our staff the opportunity to learn their positions before they're trying to bring in new auditors. Also, with the audit firm we use, as we evaluated their services compared to other services, I've been working with audit firms for over 20 years, and I've never had a partner, much less 2 partners, come out and do work. So we're getting a very high level of service, and the cost is also very low compared to other districts. So putting that all together, it just didn't make sense for us right now to make that move.
Commissioner, thank you. We actually had that same discussion internally, so that's on our radar.
Yeah, okay,
Absolutely.
good.
Any others, board members? Any other questions?
I have one. I just wanted to ask a question about item C, specifically about the Scholastic Book Fair. So it's $95,000, and it's my impression that Scholastic comes and again, I might completely be misrepresenting this, so I'm hoping y'all can correct me. They come here and they sell books, if that's how I understand it. So how are we paying them $95,000? And again, that might just be the name of the service.
I'm
so.
looking to Mr. Roderick. Would this be one that's running through the activity fund potentially for their book fairs?
Yeah, a lot of times they're like fundraising activity where kids can go into
Microphone?
book fairs.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did you want to go to a microphone?
Yeah.
We could pull the detail for that. That's a year's worth of purchases district-wide, so it could be a combination of things without pulling it and looking. We're speculating, but that would be my
Yeah.
first speculation on that.
Yeah, I believe that it's kind of a fundraising activity where the librarians, they have the Scholastic Book Fairs, and even though they usually they have to be an approved vendor, I
Right.
believe, and so this is their whenever they buy those books or purchase those books to sell, that's where it comes through. A lot of times the money's deposited in our activity funds, and that just raises money for our libraries throughout the district.
Thank you.
And often PTAs too will help with book fairs, something that, so this is a way for us to obviously get the best value for our dollar and to do it completely legal under the amount that's out there. So.
Any other questions, comments, board members?
And you're just asking about the consent agenda,
Just
correct?
the consent.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Matthews, administration has something about the consent we want to make the board
Okay.
aware of. Ms. Tillman, you want to talk about which one we want to pull?
Yes, we would like to pull agenda item M. This is related to our election order, and we would just like to make sure that we make everyone aware of the items that are in that order as the board considers making that resolution and setting the election. So we'd like to pull that and just go over the order briefly.
Ms. Tillman talked to me about that. We do think it's a good thing for the public to hear kind of the background behind that and also clarify that it is something we should read versus on consent. So we'll pull that for consent. We also have on consent, the minutes have been a little correction that you have in there, just a minor correction on some of the language, clarifying, being specific. So we'll keep it on consent, but know that you're approving the consent as amended by that correction, okay? That's in your book.
Are you, one you pulling?
We're not going to pull it. We're just telling you, you've got the correction in your notebook.
I'm talking about the other one.
The other one we're going to pull is the election order. What number is that? What letter is that?
6M.
M. M.
Okay.
Yeah, we will remind you. We'll remind you to pull that one so we can read it.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other items on consent for clarification for the board members? That's all we have for consent as well.
Okay. All right, Dr. Burns, are there any reports about administration?
Yes, sir, we have just a few updates. We'll start with Ms. Tillman.
We did place an item on the agenda, item number 9, related to moving forward with our McLaughlin-Strickland renovations and additions for the consolidation of those campuses. Our attorneys are still in the process of finalizing the AIA document, so we need to give them a little bit more time to get those complete for one final review, so we'll be moving that to the March agenda.
So we'll just table that for tonight. When it comes there, we'll ask you to table it and we'll bring it back.
No problems with the school open still and all?
Right, everything's fine, just want to make sure we get everything reviewed.
Any other items from Dr. Coleman?
Yes, I just wanted to update the board on the status of class size waivers. We have requested to date, with the 2 items I brought to you, 15 class size waivers, and out of those 15, 7 of the classes are now within the 22-1 ratio, so they no longer require the waivers. However, we do have an additional 7 classes that are now over the 22-1 ratio. Those 7 classes are all restricted to just 3 schools. 4 of them are at Freeman, where class size tends to fluctuate. We are still continuously working with principals to make sure that the teachers are supported in those classes that are over. None of them are over 25-1, and I think there's only 1 that's as high as that. But we're also working with the principals to determine when it's best to assign more teachers to the campuses and split the classes. But you know, our priority, of course, is making sure that the kids are getting the education they needed it. And in addition to that, I thought I would also mention that we are focusing our recruiting efforts this spring in anticipation of avoiding class size waivers next fall. And we are in fact going to start our recruiting next Monday with our first recruiting trip. And we've got about 30 trips planned throughout the fall. So looking forward to sharing the results of those efforts with you too.
Anything else? Okay. All right. Dr. Warnock?
Sure. We attended the Texas Association of School Administrators Conference in Austin this week to hear updates from Commissioner Morath about the accountability system, and it is still in flux. So we will bring more information to you as we find out. But we had lots and lots of questions asked and some clarification on a few points. So that's still in the works. 2 points we wanted to share with you with regard to our district annual report that we won't be touching on in our presentation tonight, but that is available for public view on our website and also available to you in the report. We do have 2 campuses that are in improvement required status this year. Those are Landry and McWhorter. They've had meetings with their community and their staff. We have additional support placed at those campuses, and we have acceleration teams that are working there to provide additional support. Additionally, this spring, we will be pulling some resources from other campuses to add kind of an additional layer of support as we enter testing season for students at Landry and McWhorter. So that is our plan. Also, the student disciplinary report, we're required to report criminal incidents that occur, and we had 7 criminal incidents at 4 campuses in the 2016-17 school year. And we're going to touch briefly on that in the report, but we're not going to go into a great amount of detail due to the low incidence, the possibility of identifiable information for students. So, but we could definitely share any additional information with you, and it's posted on our website regarding those incidents. We also have gotten an update from ERG. ERG allows us to look at comparative data for many metrics, how we compare to other school districts. And one piece is we're looking at some data that just uploaded that really stood out to me as a celebration, but also as a point of concern and thought for the board going forward. Is our percentile of students that we serve who are identified as having special needs. We send out in the Monday memo a report from Jim Walsh about the 8.5% cap that Texas has come under scrutiny for from the Office of Civil Rights. And we have long not paid attention to that 8.5% cap in CFB. If students have had a need, we have served them. We, in 2015-16, were at the 24th percentile in the state for the number of students in special ed that we were serving, meaning another way that we served more students in special ed and CFB than compared to 76% of school districts in Texas. For 2016-17, that number increased for us to where we're at the 10th percentile. So we're serving comparatively more students who receive special services than 90% of districts in Texas, which is really a testament to the services that our special ed team provides. We have families that relocate here because of our programming, particularly for students with autism. But it's something for us to think about with future staffing needs, that we know that students who have special needs require a higher ratio of staff, and we do not receive federal funding to cover those staffing positions at a ratio that would offset the implications for local funding. So it's just something that we're watching and thinking about. We're having increased needs of identifying students for special ed and having to add sections regularly to accommodate growing demand. So it's something that we just want to make sure that you're aware of and have that in your mind as we think about budget implications.
Dr. Warnock, speaking of that, especially I had I don't know where I talked to a lady who said that they enrolled, she had a son and a daughter who both have dyslexia, and they enrolled them in LISD because we don't provide special ed services for dyslexia. Is that, or?
I'll address that. My son had dyslexia and he got great services.
Well, that's what I was thinking, what? I believe we do.
Yeah, we serve our dyslexic students
That's
through
what
504,
That's what
not
I-
through special education. And we've
Through
actually,
504, but not special education, is that what you're saying?
through 504,
Okay.
but dyslexic students, we use a multisensory teaching approach. It is a new program that we brought to the district last year. It's very intensive training for the staff. Every elementary has MTA trained personnel at their campus that provide intervention in a very specific and systematic way for dyslexic students. And then we also have services at the secondary level for our dyslexic students. So we do absolutely provide services, and we're seeing a lot of gains for our
Well, I thought
dyslexic
so, but I don't
students
know if
through
she was, like,
MTA.
emphatic enough. I think, I'm pretty sure we do. Anyway, okay.
Dr. Warnock, is that all yours?
Yes,
A couple of things. Last week was National School Choice Week, and I think, Mr. Shackman, your comments were right on, in fact, that we didn't have to really talk about all the things we were doing, but when the nation and the state provides other choices, we have to be out on the front. We don't want to be a secret, right, of what the great things that we're doing. So I think we do have to be a little aggressive in promoting our own selves. We're not typically good at that, bragging on ourselves, but we're going to have to be a little bit. And then, as you said, provide the good outcomes to go with it. But I do want to compliment the team, and it's all the team, certainly from communications to curriculum to business to maintenance, everybody that helped really make sure that we could showcase the great things in our school district last week, culminating with the signature program night at R.L. Turner. Was a huge success. We have lots of great feedback from that. But it really was an eye-opener for some of our people who said, wow, I didn't realize that we had these kinds of things right here in our own backyard. And we've certainly generated a lot of interest from those that aren't already attending, as well as informing those that are already in our school district they have choices. So we believe that that's something that we do have to keep getting the message out there that these are the things that we offer, and we want you to choose public school, and if you live in CFB, we want you to choose CFB. So the second thing is, obviously there's lots of things in the news about the flu season and sickness, and that's all around us. We have, I would say, been fortunate that we've only had a few campuses that have had some pretty significant drop in attendance rate overall, and we'll be needing to do some waivers for those for this school year. But I do want to take a moment, is that doesn't necessarily happen by accident. I think it's an intentional effort by our nurses and our staffs to keep kids healthy. We wash hands just like they do in the hospital, right? Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, as well as our maintenance staff and our custodial staff making sure our buildings are clean and sanitized. So it's a team effort, but I do want to point that out, that just because we have not been the victim of a large percentage of sickness is not accidental. It's intentional on our part to make sure our kids are healthy and well. So I did want to point that out tonight. And that concludes our report, and I don't want to talk any longer because I'm keeping us from dinner. So.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our agenda. This meeting is adjourned at 6:23 p.m. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I call this regular meeting of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District Board of Trustees to order at 7:02 p.m. on February 1st, 2018. Board members, district staff members, and members of the audience, you are free to join me in standing as Lyle Benson from Aldersgate United Methodist Church provides a welcome message, and as Randy Shackman leads the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag and Richard Fleming to the Texas flag.
Would you pray with me? Most gracious God, you have appointed from the treasures of your wisdom the angels in wondrous order. You have so beautifully set out all of the mysteries of the universe, mysteries that we cannot possibly comprehend, and yet we continue to study and learn your ways. We praise you and we thank you for making us a part of your eternal plan. You are true wisdom and the noble origin of all things. We pray that you will pour out upon us your holy presence tonight, your blessings, your spirit of strength, peace, wisdom, guidance, and courage to make the right decisions for your children. Give us keen minds to understand your word, quick to learn your ways, and able to remember and share with others your wisdom, your grace, and your blessings. We thank you for the teachers, students, staff, coaches, administrators, and this school board, for the new beginnings, and for the new opportunities we have as a community to learn and to wonder. For this we pray in your holy name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As a district, we dedicate all our efforts and resources to our goal of high achievement for each student. The board uses this goal to guide all deliberations, decisions, and actions. You will get to see all deliberations, decisions, and actions of the board in open session, with the exception of some items which may be discussed in a closed session as stipulated in the Texas Government Code, Section 551, commonly known as the Open Meetings Law. These items typically deal with personnel matters, consultation with our attorney, and real estate. For the record, all board members are present. We constitute a quorum and may conduct business on behalf of the district. As required by Board Policy BBD Local, let the minutes reflect that all board members have completed or exceeded the number of continuing education training hours required for 2017. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before moving on to the next agenda item, I would like to remind you that the board encourages comments from citizens of the district and from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so during agenda item number 5, Audience for Guests. Please submit your request to do so on one of the forms provided on the table just outside the boardroom door. You may place the completed form in the box provided on that same table, or you may present your completed form to Ms. Sharon Scrivener, our administrative assistant. And when we get to item number 5, Audience for Guests, you will be invited to the podium to speak. We will now proceed with item number 2, Student Achievement Presentation. Dr. Burns.
Thank you, President Matthews, members of the board, and to our audience. Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. You know, I never get tired of saying this, but we always make the first thing the main thing. And the first thing on our agenda is talking about students and student achievement. So we're going to talk tonight a little bit about not only what has not often been referred to as Stellar, but now going to be referred to in Stellar, as that is the outstanding programs we offer here in CFB, and why we believe by offering that we will meet our goal of high achievement for each student. And I believe Ms. Shelley Brown's going to start us off. Stellar programs in CFB.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Burns and members of the board. CFB is the best choice for education in our community. We offer lots of choices for all of our students. I'm excited to share about the new initiative called Stellar. You have a rocket with the name Stellar on it tonight. We launched Stellar a week ago. Reveal Week was very exciting. At the Stellar Signature Program Fair on Thursday evening of Reveal Week, we had thousands of parents and families who explored the opportunities offered in CFB. On Friday of Reveal Week, we broke not one, but 2 world records for the most people doing an art project at the same time and the most people doing a science fair project or science experiment at the same time. It was very exciting, and I want you to take a look at the video of breaking the world record. Reveal Week was very exciting for everyone. Well, what is Stellar? Stellar Signature Programs offer CFB students a vast array of individualized opportunities uniquely designed to fit our students' needs. Stellar is the umbrella name that all of our signature programs fall underneath, like high school academies, IB, early college, dual language, LEAP, culinary arts. All of our signature programs fall under the name Stellar now. From pre-K through 12th grade, CFB offers limitless opportunities to our students to learn and grow. Under the Stellar Signature Program umbrella, next school year, we will launch 2 new elementary academies, as well as expand some of our current signature programs. Blair, Country Place, Landry, and Kent will be Imagine Fine Arts Academies. Students will explore the arts through art, music, dance, and theater, and students will be able to participate in many performances and ensembles. Blanton, Freeman, McLaughlin-Strickland, Rainwater, and River Chase will now be Spark STEM Academies. Every student, every day, will participate in science, technology, engineering, math, through coding, animation, robotics, and much, much more. Over the summer, you will notice some changes happening to those 9 academies, to those 9 campuses. We will be adding features that will help enhance the learning environments for our students. The exciting news doesn't stop there. Over the next few years, we'll be adding more choices for all of our students. Every campus will have a Stellar Signature program. Did you know that we already have Stellar Signature programs like dual language at Stark, McCamey, Thompson, and Field Middle School? We will be adding it at Long Middle School, and we'll be now calling our dual language the Discover Dual Language Academies. Our pre-K programs will now be called Ignite Early Learning Academies. All of these academies fall under the name of, I bet you guessed it, Stellar. We will accept transfers into Stellar Signature programs, including the Spark and Imagine Academies. If you are a parent with children that live inside of CFB and your children attend a charter school or a private school, or they're homeschooled, come on back. Come on to CFB. You can apply for admission. If you live outside of the boundaries of CFB ISD and you want your child to attend one of our Stellar Signature programs, come on. You can apply for admission. If you live, if your children already live inside of CFB and attend one of our schools, but you would like your children to attend one of the new academies, you can apply for admission to one of the new academies. It's open. We're welcoming everyone. And you can find the application at cfbstellar.com. The applications, we're already accepting them. We already have several hundred. Very exciting. On that website, cfbstellar.com, we have an FAQ that will answer all of your questions about transferring or admission questions that you might have. All of our students learn and explore in innovative ways in CFB. The opportunities in CFB for stellar education are endless. In CFB, we provide stellar opportunities to help our students learn more and achieve more. CFB is the best choice for education in our community. Watch this.
We're here today to talk to you about choices in our school district, in our schools, that'll help you achieve your dreams. Schools where you make a choice to be that artist, that dancer, that movie maker, that actor, that actress, because that's your passion, that's your choice. Elementaries that focus on science, technology, engineering, and math. That doctor, that scientist, that astronaut, that mathematician, that teacher. If you love what you do, you'll always be happy. Find what you love to do, find your passion, find your stellar program.
That concludes our presentation. Thank you, Dr. Burns.
achievement presentation. No, never mind, we just got through doing that. Next agenda, I'll be all right, I promise. The next agenda item is number 3, recognition of special guests and announcements. This is my favorite part of the show. Okay, Dr. Burns.
Thank you, President Matthew Grimsley. That's actually not a bad slip, because it's all about achievement, right? That's why we're here. But stellar programs don't happen without stellar people, sometimes known as VIPs, AKA very incredible people. Very incredible people that make the vision possible, they make the goal happen, they make student achievement a reality for each student. And this is our part of the board meeting where we recognize those VIPs, those very important professionals, and thank you, and thank them for all that they do. You know, we often say we can't thank you enough, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't try. So you have some gratitude notes in your bag. Many people here celebrating with you tonight to tell you how much they appreciate you and what you do. And we're all here to thank you and celebrate your incredible things that you do in our stellar programs. So as your principal introduces you, you will come to the front and stand with Mr. Matthews and myself. We invite members of the audience that are here to support these very incredible people to please stand when they are introduced. Mr. Matthews.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Burns. I'm Lisa Williams, principal at Davis Elementary School, and we're here tonight to honor Mrs. Karen Schultz. Karen teaches 5th grade at Davis, and she symbolizes all that is right in CFB and public education. As a child, Karen played the viola in elementary school all through high school, then went to college on a tennis scholarship and taught tennis camps. And that's how she met her husband, Greg. And she did win that tennis match, I'll let you know that. She did. Okay, so life changed dramatically when Karen married Greg Schultz and began the journey as a soldier's wife, which ultimately led to Brigadier General Constantino, who led the National War College in Washington, D.C., honoring Karen with the highest civilian award bestowed by the United States Army. Please focus your attention to the citation on the screen. Department of the Army, Karen A. Schultz, Commander's Award for Public Service. For exceptional service while performing as an Army Family Support Group volunteer from June 1993 to May 2014. For over 20 years, Mrs. Schultz's compassion and commitment to soldiers and their families were hallmarks of her service and support. As a friend, mentor, counselor, and leader, she was a model Army spouse who dedicated herself to improving the Army's family readiness and overall quality of life. During times of peace and war, Mrs. Schultz's unwavering support for Army families is in keeping with the highest ideals of selfless service and reflects great credit upon herself, the Army community and family team, and the United States Army. Thank you, Karen. During Greg's military years, Karen earned multiple awards, including the Commission of the Yellow Rose of Texas. Again, on the screen. It's the highest award bestowed on exceptional women in Texas, recognizing service to community, including contributions and achievements related to the preservation of the history of Texas, improving the present and building the future. And as you can see, Karen is building our future every day. Karen also earned the Molly Pitcher Award for significant contribution and support to the improvement of United States field artillery communities. Karen continues contributing, leading, mentoring, and setting the path for successful futures for young teachers and students. The biological mother of 3 sons, one of whom is on active duty in the Army, and the twins are studying web design, Karen is the surrogate mother to many on the campus of Davis. Influenced by our esteemed former CFB principal, Kathy McWhorter, who is here tonight. She is Karen's mother-in-law. Karen was attracted to the CFB community in part because of our focus on professional growth and the renown of our school district's instructional strength, so she chose to return to our CFB family for her final years of teaching. And while moving around the country with Greg's career, Karen developed a broad comparison base to CFB as she taught not only in Texas, but also Oklahoma, Georgia, and Virginia, while her husband taught at the National War College in Washington, D.C., and served at the Pentagon as the Executive Strategy Group leader, a family of educators and leaders, and they chose to return to serve our community. What an honor for us. While Greg deployed to Iraq with his battalion, assigned to protect and escort soldiers and U.S. Embassy officials out of the green or the safe zone, accumulating 1 million documented miles without losing a single soldier, and operate the largest operating base in Baghdad along with other high-priority missions, Karen led the Family Readiness Group, taking care of over 400 wives and families, teaching them how to be self-sufficient, as many were very young and away from home for the first time. Karen ensured families were informed, supported, and assisted individual wives who were in crisis. She prepared the barracks for the unmarried men returning from duty so that they had a warm welcome back to the United States. And she never had to prepare one condolence package because every one of Greg's 660 officers and soldiers returned home safely. From the first day, 3 years ago, when Karen joined our Davis family, she embraced our mindfulness culture and routines. Even her dog and cat, Bailey and Dargo, settled their glitter, y'all, with our infamous glitter jars, and I have this evidence on social media. Karen mentors young teachers who seek to know what it means to walk in deep dedication to their profession, to our profession, and the great rewards of service-focused life. She's a loyal, straight shooter who loves her students and teaches them to love, to respect, and to preserve our country's ideals and democracy. Like Greg, Karen has no casualties. All students grow and reach high expectations, building strong character, resolve to persevere, and establish the grit required for a successful, productive citizen. The children standing will say, "Mrs. Schultz, thank you. You changed my life." An exceptionally strong woman, teacher, patriot, leader, mentor, and friend. Thank you, Karen, for your service as we honor you tonight as a member of the very important profession of teaching.
Dr. Burns, Mr. Matthews, and members of our school board, good evening. My name is Randy Wells. I'm Executive Director of Special Education, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the wonderful Marie Huey Special Education Center staff. and I am delighted to introduce Sandy Reed, our newest member in the very important profession of teaching. Sandy is a product of CFB. She attended Carrollton Elementary, DeWitt Perry, back in the day when it was called junior high, and the football coach was named John Matthews. She went on to Newman Smith High School, graduating in the class of 1981. She was a cheerleader while at Smith, and her cheerleading picture still adorns the walls of Smith High School. Her son Travis, who's here tonight, also attended CFB schools and graduated from Ranchview High School in 2009. Sandy went on to attend Texas Women's University, where she majored in occupational therapy. Upon graduation, Sandy worked as an OT in various settings outside of public education. But in April of 1991, she was approached by Sammy Perry, the CFB Special Education Director then, to come and work in CFB in the special ed department. Sandy took the job and was the only OT serving all of CFB. 27 years later, Sandy is part of a cohesive and supportive team of therapists that include 10 OTs and 2 PTs, physical therapists. The therapists call Marie Huey home, but serve the entire school community. Sandy's worked on almost every campus in CFB, but now is assigned to all schools on the west side of our district. Sandy's teammates think the world of her. They hold Sandy in high regard and respect her knowledge and expertise. They have wonderful things to say about her. A common theme among her peers is that Sandy's an awesome therapist and very dedicated to her job. She's worked hard to improve the lives of students in CFB for 27 years, and we could not get by without her. Sandy says, "I love working with children and with special needs. There's always new challenges, and I love that about the students I work with. I'm thankful for CFB and Marie Huey Special Ed Department for giving me the opportunity to pursue my career as an occupational therapist all these years. It's truly been fulfilling and great experience, and there's nowhere else I'd rather be." Sandy, we're delighted you're here with us in CFB. Sandy's a dedicated member of our Huey family and truly an asset to our department. Marie Huey Special Ed Center and CFB are indeed fortunate to have Sandy Reed as a member of the very important profession of teaching.
Good evening, Mr. Matthews, Dr. Burns, and members of the school board. My name is Stephanie Lopez, and I am fortunate to serve as principal of Tom Landry Elementary School. I join you tonight in recognition of Landry's newest member of the very important profession of teaching, Melinda Moss. Melinda is joined tonight by her mom, dad, sister, friends, and lots of Landry Longhorns. Landry has Melinda's second grade teacher to thank for her choice in careers, along with a very patient sister and some stuffed animals that allowed her to perfect her craft at a young age. As years passed, her conviction strengthened, as did her belief that everyone deserves an education and most of the world's problems can be solved through education. I first met Melinda when we began our Landry journey together 5 years ago. She had just finished up her first year of teaching in Arlington ISD, and thankfully life brought her to CFB. I don't remember everything about her interview, but I remember being amazed that a person could smile that long. And then there was her laugh, the contagious kind. Then she locked me in with the stories about her students. I say stories and not examples because stories intrigue you with passion and emotion. And Melinda's answers weren't just answers. They were passionate tales of grit and relentless effort to help her children succeed no matter what. I knew little to zero about being a principal 5 years ago, but I knew enough not to let Melinda Moss go back to Arlington ISD. Each year, Melinda confirms my rookie hunch and then some. She is the embodiment of whatever it takes. For example, take yourself to any kind of staff meeting. Can I get a group of volunteers to develop a system for improving student behavior throughout the building and create instructional videos to go along with it? Thank you, Ms. Moss. There's a student in need of a mentor, tutor, or friend who would like to take them under their wing. Thank you, Ms. Moss. Are you willing to video yourself teaching a component of Reader's Workshop for the entire staff to view? Thank you, Ms. Moss. Who would like to create a schedule to make sure each one of our students is able to attend at least one extracurricular club each month, all at the same time? Thank you, Ms. Moss. I'm not Melinda's only fan. Comments from her Landry family members have a similar theme. She reflects on her own practices and makes adjustments to better serve her students. She works tirelessly through difficult situations to ensure that her students have a fair shot. She's always helping others. Students and teachers love her. Staff goes on to say, she goes above and beyond to help students that are troubled. She brings light and smiles to everyone around her. She steps up and gets the job done. She passionately influences students' lives and infuses our campus with positivity. And someone simply put, who doesn't love Moss? Some former students were all too eager to share their thoughts about Miss Moss. One said, she's strict but not rude, and she's scary but calm. I remember a kid picked up something to throw it, and she looked at him in his eyes and all quiet said, don't do it, like she was a sorcerer. I remember my grades were slipping, and she told my mom she would tutor me every day, and I'm not even her student anymore. I remember her telling us to be a success, not a statistic. Even in 4th grade, she still looks out for us. Like if I'm having a tough time, I know I can meet her during recess at the bench. I don't know how, but I've seen her do it. It's like she just melted all his madness away. A current student who has provided many opportunities for Ms. Moss to learn and grow this year has this to say: she's intelligent and she has a really big heart. I've wanted her as my teacher since 2nd grade. Ms. Lopez, I probably shouldn't be saying this to you, but she's always spoiling me. I don't think I deserve it, but I'm thankful she does. No words convey the true nature of the magical Melinda Moss, and Landry is truly blessed to witness her enchantment in the flesh. For all these reasons and more, Landry is honored to recognize Melinda Moss as a member of the very important profession of teaching.
Good evening, Mr. Matthews, members of the board, Dr. Burns, fellow colleagues, and guests. My name is Adam Toy, and I am honored and humbled to be the principal of the DeWitt Perry Middle School. We are here tonight to introduce you to our newest member in the very important profession of teaching, Mrs. Katie Sheely Palmer. Katie graduated from the University of Georgia and taught 3 years before getting her head on straight, moving to Dallas, Texas, where she was quickly hired at DeWitt Perry Middle School in 2005. This is Katie's 12th year in the district, all at Perry Middle School, teaching English and language arts. Along the way, Katie has served as an instructional facilitator, summer school dean, summer school assistant principal, and is currently serving as the language arts department head at DeWitt Perry. She's a loving mom to Luke, who's 3.5, and Lucy, who is 8 months, and the darling wife of Chris, who has joined us here tonight. In one word, Katie is dedicated. She's dedicated to being the best teacher she can. She's dedicated to the lives and betterment of the children at DeWitt Perry Middle School. She's dedicated to helping the teachers around her, regardless of what they teach, get better at what they do. She's dedicated to helping the entire community be excited about learning, growing, and having fun while doing it. The educational, social, and emotional impact she has had on the DeWitt Perry campus and in our school district can only be counted by viewing the hundreds of pictures of current and former students she has on her wall, often at high school and college graduation, and the notes of love, thank you, and encouragement that accompany them. Katie had overwhelming support from our DeWitt Perry staff to receive this award. The common words our DeWitt Perry teachers used to describe Katie were compassion, genuine, success, caring, dedicated, relationships, smile, improvement, wears many hats, passionate, and phenomenal, just to name quite a few. When asked, students were lined up at my door to talk to me about just how wonderful they thought Mrs. Palmer is. Two students' comments stood out to me. Mahir says, Mrs. Palmer enjoys helping us pick out different books and projects to work on. She takes the time to get to know us and then helps us choose our learning based on what she thinks we would like. Antonio says she actually asks us for feedback on how she's doing and whether we as kids like the lesson or the project or not. And then she actually listens to us and makes changes for the next time we do something similar. This told me that she really does care for us and our opinions. When I asked Katie why she loves what she does, her exact words to me were this: doggone it, I'm going to get a kid to enjoy a book one day at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to induct the incomparable and divine Mrs. Katie Shealy Palmer into the very important profession of teaching.
Good evening, Dr. Burns, members of the board, and special guests. I'm Amy Miller, principal at Rosemead Elementary. Tonight, we are here to honor our newest Rosemead member of the very important profession of teaching, Mr. Heath Farr. Just a few short years ago, Rosemead found itself in need of a new music teacher. We knew exactly the kind of teacher we wanted to fill our open spot, and so the hunt began. We were looking for someone cheerful, charismatic, and full of energy and excitement for the classroom. Oh, and a knowledge of teaching music and instruments was on the list as well. We interviewed many, and in our search, we found our dear Mr. Farr. He was very studious and quite professional, until I asked him to tell me about the most fun he had ever had teaching. Maybe he remembers. He quickly started in on a story about Taylor Swift and dancing and laughing with kids and shaking it off. And I knew instantly we had found our fit. And that same energetic vibe has held true all these years. From dancing in the hall, welcoming students with puppets and songs, or singing at lunch, he is a constant source of entertainment and joy. His love for music and passion for fun with the kids keeps them engaged and excited to come to class. Mr. Farr can often be found in the hall between classes playing a guitar, wearing crazy rock and roll red flaming guitar sunglasses. He also wears them for dismissal, and singing some crazy tune that he has invented for his students. He offers help at every event, running sound, setting up, or just helping anywhere he can. He's unassuming, never asks for praise or thanks, and works behind the scenes just being a fantastic team player. In fact, I think he was very surprised to be chosen for this honor. But those of us that know and love him were not surprised in the least. When asked about Mr. Farr, one of his colleagues wrote to me saying, "He shows passion for his teaching field and enjoys sharing that with students. He shows us how important music and performing are in our everyday life." Another stated, "Heath is extremely talented and has a passion for music that he passes on to the kids. He puts so much time, effort, and thought into his lessons, it really shows. He deserves to be acknowledged for his dedication and hard work." Heath is a breath of fresh air and ever positive and upbeat. You can just tell when someone enjoys their job and it's not really work. Mr. Farr is an example for others to follow and a stellar example of the Rosemead way. He absolutely exemplifies our district goal of high achievement for each student and is one of the reasons we are continuously voted the best community for music education. So I couldn't pass up a chance to show off the fantastic glasses. So rock on, Mr. Farr. You are truly our VIP. Love you.
President Matthews, members of the board, that concludes our VIP recognitions for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. Let me make a few comments before we go on to the next event. Like I said earlier, this is one of my favorite parts of all of our board meetings. I'm so impressed by the work that our people do all over the place. But you ladies who have been recognized tonight, I want you to realize, and, excuse me, I'm sorry, Brett, forgive me. He's a he, I know, and I apologize to his dad because his dad said, "Hey, I believe that's a boy there." Anyway, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't bring my A game tonight. I apologize. But anyway, we take this very seriously, and we hope that you realize how important this really is. Now, I know how many board meetings we have a year. I know how many times we do VIP presentations. We don't do them at every meeting, okay? Sometimes we do MVP, which is a little different. And I know how many teachers we have in our school district. So for you to be selected for this recognition, there are 99% other teachers that aren't. So this is a big deal. Ms. Schultz, I'd like to get your husband's autograph before the night's over with. And And Ms. Moss, what really got me with you is I love it when their teachers get up here and they're so excited and overwhelmed that, you know, they get a little moist, you know, in their eyes. You almost made me start crying. But anyway, and Katie, before I got elected to the board in 2012, I did a little substitute teaching just to stay busy. And of course, if you'd asked me when I was a full-time administrator if I'd ever considered being a substitute teacher, I'd say that'd be the very last thing on the planet that I would try to do. But I loved it, and I got to substitute back at my beloved DeWitt Perry, and Katie helped me out a bunch. I would substitute for Temple occasionally and other teachers, and so Katie, that's where I first met her, and she was a big help. I didn't realize that you had a son in our district. Yeah, I'm impressed, and for you to, that's good. And I can see where you got your fine arts talent because your dad is highly talented also. Let's see, Sandy, did I overlook you on purpose? Yes, I did. Not only did she go to DeWitt Perry when I was coaching there, she was one of my cheerleaders. I was a baby. I just barely was out of school when I got she was one of my cheerleaders, and I taught her American history. So I got her started on the path to being a tremendous educator. So anyway, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, one other thing before we go.
We got one other agenda. We got number 4.
I know.
Okay.
I know. Well, that's what I'm fixing to get to right there.
Yeah.
Before we do, my
You have number 4.
my computer did not,
Okay.
I ran out of ink on my computer and it didn't have the other stuff. We are going to agenda item number 4, district announcements. Dr. Burns.
Thank you, President Matthews, members of the board. In the audience, again, thank you for being here. We do have announcements, and also obviously for our viewers that might be out there later, we do want to highlight some great things that are happening in the district. So, Ms. Angela Shelley Brown, you're up.
Dr. Burns, members of the board, I would like to give you an update on events and initiatives happening around CFB. The community is invited to a Black History Month celebration at Rainwater Elementary on Saturday, February the 3rd. Details are available on the district's website at cfbisd.edu. February 6th is CFB ISD's 3rd annual African American Read-In at Bush Middle School at 6 p.m. The next school board work study meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February the 15th at 6 p.m. at Field Middle School. This is my favorite, and I added this one because it's a lot of fun. February 17th, Creekview High School will hold the first ever Comic Con. Come on, who doesn't love that? From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There will be a celebrity appearance from voice actress Chirami Lee from Fairy Tale. Details are available on the CFB ISD website. I mean, we're having our own Comic Con. That's kind of fun. Remember that the district will be closed March 12th through the 16th for spring break. And all of the information about these events and many more are available on the district's website at cfbisd.edu. That concludes my report.
I would like to remind you once again that the board encourages comments from citizens of the district and from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak either as an individual or as a representative of a group may do so during agenda item number 5, audience for guests. Please submit your request to do so on one of the forms provided on the table just outside the door. You may place that form on the table, or you may hand it to Ms. Sharon Scribner, our administrative assistant. When the board addresses agenda item number 5, audience for guests, you will be invited to join us at the podium to speak to the board. Now, I know that the vast majority of you would like to stick around for the rest of the entire meeting, and we encourage you to do so. However, there may be some of you that have something else they have to do tonight. So for that reason, we're going to take a recess right now for about 10 minutes, and if you need to slip out, just do so. We are recessed. We'll be back in 10 minutes at 8:01. Order, please. Thank you very much.
She provided the toys.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this meeting of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District Board of Trustees is called back to order at 8:01. The next item on the agenda is audience for guests. Before we begin, I will remind our audience members of the board's procedures for handling audience for guests. Anyone who wants to speak during audience for guests must sign in and list the topic they want to discuss. Each speaker will be allowed to speak once during the audience for guests. Each speaker will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to address the board, and the audience for guests portion of the meeting will be no more than 30 minutes total, as dictated by Board Policy BED Local. If during that time the board is not able to hear from everyone who has signed up, those who did not have an opportunity to speak will be invited to speak during our audience for guests at the board's next regularly scheduled meeting in March. Because the board wants to hear from as many of you as possible, while also keeping the meeting running efficiently, groups of more than 5 people who want to present a particular viewpoint on a topic should appoint one person to speak on behalf of their group. Again, that speaker's presentation will be limited to 3 minutes. If you speak during audience for guests, either individually or on behalf of a group, please remember that the board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included in the agenda for this meeting. Last, we ask that you not discuss students who are not your own child, and specific complaints should be addressed through the district's grievance process, not in audience for guests. District policy DGBA has been established for addressing employee complaints. Policy FNG is the avenue for filing parent complaints, and policy GF addresses community member complaints. Grievance forms can be obtained at any campus administration office or in the central administration offices. Timekeeper, Ms. Klein, would you please start the 30-minute clock now? And also, please tell each speaker, time each speaker for 3 minutes. Speakers, the timekeeper will let you know when you have 1 minute left. And Ms. Scribner, I see that we have 3 audience for guests forms. Okay. When I call your name, please come to the podium and state your name and address name and address for the record. We do ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. First up will be Nolan Adams.
I'm going to make this quick. First off, I'd like to thank all of the wonderful teachers that were here earlier tonight. That this is truly Carrollton-Farmers Branch's elite. This is exactly what we need more of. But now I'm going to get into the beef. I was sitting back there wondering if I should actually come up and speak, since it was such a positive meeting. But as Carrollton-Farmers Branch's elite teachers, you care about your students more than me ruining the party. I am the founder of Carrollton Community Movement. It's an organization that promotes immigrants' rights, specifically in Carrollton-Farmers Branch. I have heard multiple rumors, multiple statements from members of ours about abuse in CFB ISD school. These families are too afraid to go through the grievance process. They're already afraid of the police. They're afraid of leaving the home. They're not going to go into the lion's mouth. As teachers, I encourage you all to keep a watchful eye and encourage these families that they should come forward, whether it be to an outside agency or otherwise. All I'm asking there. Also, Director, I have never seen such a blatant violation of the Open Meetings Act in my 2 years of speaking at local political forums. By encouraging, as the president of CFB ISD, by reminding individuals that they can leave, that is akin to asking them to leave. And by doing that directly before the public forum when I was about to speak, you violated the Open Meetings Act. And you know it, and I know it, and any lawyer worth his salt will know it. You don't deserve to be president, and I will actively vote against you and encourage others to do so. Second item on my agenda today, for those of you who aren't aware, there is a dark political influence here in Carrollton, or a positive one if you're far right. The Carrollton Tea Party is actively endorsing candidates and has been for quite some time. I can name quite a few of the men and women up there who have been actively endorsed, supported, and worked to get right up into that clamshell and make policies that actively discriminate against the southern portions of Carrollton and the minority portions of Carrollton. Why do you think R.L. Turner has not been renovated? But every other school has either been renovated or updated or just, a new one has been built. Thank you guys very much for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be here afterwards.
Next up, Ms. Shirley Tarpley.
Superintendent and board members, I am Shirley Tarpley, 1507 Milam Way in Carrollton, 75006. I'm here to speak about term limits for the school board members. I have been after board meeting, and it's the same old argument that was used on Carrollton City Council back in the middle 80s. In the late 80s, Carrollton resident elected 4 city council members that had conviction of their promise when they were elected. Today, we have term limits for the city of Carrollton, and to me, it is the best thing that was done for Carrollton. Number one, the reason why is council members retire with dignity. Now, they can run again, but then they have to wait out a term to do that. New ideas come to a board when we don't elect the same old members year after year up to 35 years. Council members are free to use their talents and other ways to help the city of Carrollton. We need board members that were elected and told the citizens, I am for term limitations, and they get on, and then that same old inch get to them. It is Black History Month. I want to remind you, and since I had 2 things to talk about, and I knew I couldn't talk about but one, and I chose term limits over Black history, but I do have some newspapers because everybody came here with a battery that a black man invented. And everybody know about the signal lights. They talk about that every year. But there are other things. Cell phone people.
As stated earlier, the board may not discuss or act on any issues that are not posted on our agenda for tonight's meeting. However, the board may refer the comments to the administration for further review or research. We will proceed now to our next agenda item, number 6, consent agenda. The consent agenda is a mechanism that the board uses to approve a number of routine items together with a single vote. In compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the public notice for this meeting includes a list of all consent agenda items, and the board has been provided ample information about these items in advance. Prior to any action taken on the consent agenda, board members may request withdrawal of individual items for clarification or discussion. Board members, are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda at this time?
I'd like to pull item M.
Item M.
Yes.
I have a motion, any other items, board members? Okay. If there are no other items to be removed, do I have a motion regarding the consent agenda as amended? Ms. Klein?
I was going to recommend approval of the consent agenda as amended. I believe it was the minutes of the January 18th meeting, pre-meeting?
The minutes will have been amended and will be approved in the consent if so right.
Yes.
Have a motion from Ms. Klein. Do I have a second? Have a second from Mr. Fleming. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. That vote is unanimous.
Let me give item M.
McBurn?
Item M.
Yes. Item N, Ms. Valenzuela.
So we were going to call attention to the possible action regarding all matters related to May 5th, 2018 general election, including adoption of an election order.
Yes, thank you. We want to kind of say some comments around that for the audience, as well as clarify what this actual action means as a board. Ms. Tillman?
Yes. Texas election law does require that the Board of Trustees pass an order establishing the procedures for filing and conducting a trustee election. Just to quickly review the order that you all received, in paragraph 1, it does establish that there are 2 at-large member positions that will be on the ballot. Paragraph 2 indicates the guidelines that must be followed in order for a candidate to have their name placed on the ballot, including the timelines that they must meet. Paragraph 3 establishes that the election judges are appointed by Dallas County Elections. Paragraph 4 indicates that our process is cumulative voting that was approved by our Board of Trustees. Paragraph 5 determines the early voting locations along with the times and dates that those will be available. Those locations have not yet been finalized. We had a meeting today with the election office, and we'll have those posted as soon as all of those locations have been finalized. Paragraph 7 does authorize Dr. Burns and myself to actually initiate the joint election agreement. That agreement gives us the ability to share the cost with other entities that will have items on the ballot throughout Dallas, including cities and other school districts. And then finally, paragraph 9 talks about the manner that the election shall be governed, including paragraphs 10 and 11, with all of the posting requirements that we must meet. The last paragraph does indicate that the board has read and agrees with all of these terms. And we just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that all that information is available. Upon board action, it will be posted tomorrow.
We're good?
Yes.
Thank you. Our next agenda item,
We need a motion for M.
huh? Yeah, we do need a motion for M. Do I have a motion for agenda item M? Mr. Shackman.
Mr. Matthews, I would, A, encourage everybody to be aware and vote, and B, I would like to make a motion that we approve agenda item M.
Have a motion from Mr. Shackman. Do I have a second? Have a second from Mr. Bocci. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Any opposed? Nope, that vote is unanimous. Our next agenda item now is number 7, consider adoption of District of Innovation Plan. Dr. Burns, will there be a presentation?
Well, yes, sort of. President Matthew, member of the board, I think if we keep talking about innovation for very long, it doesn't become innovation anymore, right? But this is kind of the next step in the process as we get closer. So we bring you again the innovation plan tonight as we proceed forward. Dr. Warnock.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. As we've shared with the board, House Bill 1843 provides us, as Texas Public School Districts, the opportunity to become districts of innovation. We began the process at the board work study in November. We've had a District of Innovation Committee meet and discuss possible innovations to implement in the school district and approve that plan, recommended that to our District Improvement Council, which voted unanimously on the plan, and then we brought that back and reported to you at our January board meeting about the plan. And we also had a time for public comment at the outset of the process, and so we've followed all of the necessary steps to become a District of Innovation, including the 30-day posting on our website and notification to the commissioner. So at this point, it would be the board's pleasure to consider adopting the innovation plan. And just for our audience, the key points that we're seeking to exempt the district from with regard to the education code is the uniform start date, so that we have flexibility and local control in establishing the school start date to equalize semesters and allow us flexibility. We're also seeking to exempt certain very specific and specified certification for CTE, some CTE positions, and our elementary theater teachers with our Stellar program, and possibly some language teachers as we expand some programming there. And then also to keep our pre-K program intact to provide the maximum minutes of instruction for students. Those were the provisions that the committee considered and are recommending to you tonight.
Thank you. Board members, this item is marked for action. Is there a motion to be heard at this time? Ms. Klein?
Motion to approve the District of Innovation Plan, adopting.
Have a motion from Ms. Klein. Do I have a second? Have a second from Ms. Valenzuela. Any discussion, board members? Yes, sir.
As we've worked on this as a board, and I'm pleased with what we've been able to accomplish with it and look at it, and I know that the board is committed to this idea. It is a good thing, and for those of you who are here and for those who are watching and paying attention to our meetings, it is something that I think is going to maximize our ability to serve our student population, which is what we want to be about. I know this board is concerned about fiscal responsibility. This doesn't cost us anything, but the things that we're doing here are important, and I know as a board, I believe we're supportive, and I know I'm supportive, and look forward to us making all this happen.
Any other discussion, Ms. Klein?
I was just going to say how pleased I am that we've been able to move this direction and have some flexibility in our school start date.
Any other discussion, board members? All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? That vote is unanimous. The next agenda item is the 2018-2019 academic calendar and waivers. Dr. Burns?
Yes, thank you, President Matthews, members of the board. Obviously, that item you just approved was very important, as it will help us present the calendars for you now at this time based on that innovation approval of our innovation plan. So, Dr. Warnock, you want to say anything about the calendars?
Absolutely. We surveyed our community regarding the calendar and presented 3 different options, 2 options that would allow us to meet the innovation plan, and one that in case the board elected not to pursue. So our, I would say, additional endorsement of the innovation plan, 84% of the community chose one of the innovation calendars, with almost 3,500 respondents to the survey. Calendar A is the option that the district is recommending for your consideration and approval tonight. And what that will do is move our school start up 1 week this summer. So we will begin 1 week earlier. Our teachers will return 1 week earlier. It also allows us to build in some professional development days for our staff during the school year to build that continuous learning. Teachers need planning time to improve instruction throughout the school year. So that calendar would allow for that. And again, it was the very popular choice in our survey response.
Board members, this agenda item is marked for action. Is there a motion?
I'll move to adopt option A, CFB proposed academic calendar option A.
Do I have a second? I have a second from Ms. Valenzuela. Any discussion? All those, yes, ma'am.
I've been furiously studying. What's the difference between A and B?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah, it's very minimal. It's really the placement of the bad weather days. Option A places one of our bad weather days at President's Day, so it allows a 4-day weekend for students, a 3-day weekend for teachers, with one of those days being a staff development day. Option B places that bad weather day at Memorial Day, giving a 4-day weekend there. And our thinking, and I think the staff's consideration was that we're about to break for summer, so a 4-day weekend at Memorial Day, the time in February for the staff development, and to have President's Day as a possible holiday for students was the consideration for the recommendation.
President Matthews?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I remember a little grumbling this year over school going right up to a certain holiday. It looks like it's kind of just one day off of that, right up to that. But I guess the alternatives are not good. Is that kind of what I would think from that?
Yeah, I'll let Dr. Warnock speak too, but I think we certainly want to balance the semesters out, so you need to go a little longer. And so sometimes, you know, you're just the victim of the calendar years when the holidays fall, that sometimes you're going to have to go a little later in December. If you choose to go a lot earlier, you're going to make the first semester
Shorter.
a lot shorter. And so I would think that is, you know, it's
One of
kind
our
a little bit
goals
of a-
was the
you know, you can't have it both. You got to
Yeah.
have either one. So Dr. Warnock, you want to add anything to that?
No, I would echo that sentiment.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion?
The only other questions that I've heard at all is it the same number of school days? Is it the same number of days for staff?
Yes,
And
sir.
I thought it was.
Yes,
but-
sir.
So officially, we've heard that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
It is.
the only, really, the biggest one is we're gonna be able to
Just
start earlier, so we get
change, yeah,
more
yeah.
instructional days prior to state testing, and as well as we can balance out that first semester.
Again, or hopefully,
That will be moved up, but it won't be that
Graduation
weekend.
is scheduled for June 2nd.
Yeah. We have already reserved a couple, those dates for, yeah.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. That vote is unanimous. The next item on the agenda is number 9, renovations and additions and/or additions to McLaughlin Strickland Elementary, including architect assignment. Dr. Burns.
Thank you, President Matthew, members of the board. As we talked about in our pre-meeting, Ms. Tillman and her staff believes we need to table this until we get all the documents in order and execute it properly. So, Ms. Tillman, you want to add anything to that?
They are near completion, just finalizing with our attorneys as well as the architect's attorneys. They just couldn't get it done by this evening, so we wanted to give them the time they need to finalize those documents.
So we'll need no action on it. We'll table, bring it back.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, our next agenda item involves consideration of a resolution appointing a new member to the Farmers Branch Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone Number 1 Board and Zone Number 2 Board. Our beloved Mr. James Good represented CFB ISD on both boards until his death in December. Board members, I hereby open the discussion for naming someone to fill the vacancy on these TIF boards and a resolution as presented in agenda item number 10. Ms. Klein?
President Matthews, if Mr. Ramos is willing, I think he would be an excellent representative of our board on the TIF reinvestment zone number 1, or zone number 2.
Are they trying to get someone in Farmers Branch? Does it really matter?
That's the board's decision.
All right.
There's no requirement.
No.
So was that a motion, Ms. Klein?
You better check with him.
I'm willing to serve in that position.
Okay, I have a motion from Ms. Klein. Do I have a second? I have a second from Ms. Valenzuela. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. That vote is unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Ramos.
Yeah, at minimum, yeah.
All righty, our next agenda item is number 11, consider adoption of resolution authorizing the sale and lease back of improved real property described as 2.994 acre tract of land, more or less, located at 2427 Carrick Street, Farmers Branch, Texas 75234, and authorize administration to negotiate a contract. Dr. Burns, is there any new information you need to share about this?
Thank you, President Matthews, members of the board. I do want Ms. Tillman to kind of walk you through a little bit of the process of this and then what this item is going to do. But as you've given information before, we believe this is in the best interest of the district to pursue. So, Ms. Tillman?
There's no new information. This basically just authorizes Dr. Burns and myself to negotiate the documents. It does not bind the district or the board in any way. All the final contracts that would be negotiated would be brought back to this board for action. So that's where we're at in the process. Our attorneys have started the work, but we have not started any negotiations on the terms that were presented to us from the city of Farmers Branch.
So to clarify, we will start, if that's approved, we will start it, but then it will come back for final approval.
Okay. Board members, this item is marked for action. Do I have a motion? Ms. Valenzuela?
I move that we adopt the resolution of authorizing the sale and lease back of improved real property described as 2.994 acre tract of land, more or less, located at 2427 Carrick Street, Farmers Branch, Texas 75234, and authorize administration to negotiate a contract.
Have a motion from Ms. Valenzuela. Have a second from Mr. Ramos. Any discussion?
Have we heard anything more, or is there anything on the horizon for land looking for a new location for technology center?
Right now, that would be on existing land that we have available within the La Vita area.
Okay.
Okay. Our next agenda item is number...
We need a vote. You got a motion?
Hold on. Yeah, we had the discussion, now let's have a vote. All those in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Our next agenda item is number 11. Consider adoption of resolution authorizing the sale and lease back of improved real property. I've already done that. Again, folks, don't worry, I'm okay. Agenda item number 12, report on accountability and annual district performance will now be addressed. Dr. Burns?
Thank you, President Matthews and members of the board. As you're aware, this is an annual requirement of the school district's report on. You heard Dr. Warnock earlier that sometimes we feel like we're shooting at a moving target sometimes, but that's often the case. Sometimes we're trying to really identify what really does truly measure student achievement. It's not easy. I think the state has made good efforts, but still is a little bit difficult for us because the targets do keep changing. But our resident expert, Patty Parker, will tell you everything you ever wanted to know about accountability in Texas and CFB. Ms. Parker.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight, we are going to be sharing information related to the district's annual report and an update on the state's accountability system. The Texas Education Code requires each district's Board of Trustees to publish an annual report that includes the Texas Academic Performance Report, known as TAPER, district accreditation status, campus performance objectives, information on violent or criminal incidents, and information on the performance of the previous year's graduates in their first year of college, as reported by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. Immediately following this report, we'll hold a public hearing, and within 2 weeks, the district's annual report for the 2016-17 school year will be posted on the district's website. Each year, the Commissioner of Education assigns to each school district an accreditation status under Texas Education Code. Our state's accountability is reported in 3 capacities: financial, academic, and accreditation status. The Texas Education Agency's Financial Accountability Division oversees public school financial accountability. The division administers the state's financial accountability system for school districts, known as the School Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, also called FIRST. FIRST ensures that the Texas public schools are held accountable for the quality of their financial management practices and that they improve upon those practices. As was presented and reported at the board meeting held on January the 8th, we earned a district score of 100, which is an A or a superior rating. The provisions in Texas Education Code also require that each school district evaluate itself and each of the campuses for community and student engagement and assign a rating of exemplary, recognized, acceptable, or unacceptable. The ratings are based on locally determined criteria, and these are developed by local committees. Our statute does not permit TEA to determine any portion of this criteria, and they cannot be used for those parts of the evaluation. Districts are required to submit these locally assigned ratings to TEA and to post the results in accordance with the annual state accountability ratings. And this is the last year that the local accountability will be reported like this. Turning now to accountability. Campus and districts can earn one of two ratings, either met standard or improvement required. For the 5th consecutive year, Carrollton-Farmers branch earned a rating of met standard, and in 2017, 34 campuses earned a met standard rating, 2 campuses earned improvement required. Now, as we can see with this timeline, since 2013, there have been significant changes to the state's accountability system. New for 2017 are changes in the performance labels for students taking the STAR and EOC exams, changes to the test version and format for students served by special education, 504, and LPAC committees, as well as changes to the campus comparison groups that are used to determine distinction designations. These were changed to include additional student groups for the last school year. Now, we know that A through F rating is going to change the state accountability system and the measures for our current academic school year. But this is a report from 2016-17, and for that year, the state's accountability system was comprised of 4 indices. The first one, Index 1, Student Achievement, is a snapshot of how many students passed the STAR state assessment that were included in the accountability subset. Index 2, Student Progress, measures year-to-year student growth by subject and by student groups. But instead of being solely based on the number of students testing and their performance, Index 2 uses a weighted performance calculation so that each student group is weighted equally regardless of the number of test takers. Index 3, Closing the Performance Gap. This tracks the advanced academic levels of economically disadvantaged students and the 2 lowest performing student groups in the prior year STAR test. And last, Index 4, Post-Secondary Readiness. This highlights the importance of earning a high school diploma and that provides students with the foundations necessary to be successful after their high school graduation. The 2016-17 Performance Index is shown here. We can see that in order to earn that rating of a MET standard in 2017, under the best of Index 1 or Index 2 model, campuses and districts had to meet 3 out of 4 target scores. This included Index 3, Index 4, and either Index 1 or Index 2. In 2017, the district matched the state in 2 index scores and exceeded the state in 2 index scores. That would be in closing the performance gap and in post-secondary readiness. Campus performance objectives can be measured in terms of system safeguards. These are established to meet state accountability-related intervention requirements, and results of the district and campus is disaggregated to show the performance of each student subgroup for each of the indicators. So the first one is performance. Performance rates are based on the state accountability system's Index 1 target score of 60%. In CFB, we met 81% of the academic system safeguards. Participation rates are based on the number of students participating in a qualifying state assessment at the enrollment at the time of testing. The target score for participation rate is 95%. We met that target at 100%. Graduation rate. These indicators are based on the federal government's graduation rate goal of 90% and a 5-year graduation rate set at 91%. In CFB, we met 89% of the federal graduation rate indicators, far outpacing the state of Texas. Next, distinction designations. These are awarded in recognition of outstanding achievement in academic areas in addition to those evaluated under state accountability. Each campus is assigned a unique comparison group of 40 other Texas schools that are most similar to it, based on the grade levels that they serve, based on the size of the campus, the percent of economically disadvantaged students, the mobility rate, and the percent of English language learners. The campus earns a distinction designation if it's in the top quartile of its comparison group, and they have to hit at least 33% of this for high schools at the district level, or 50% of the indicators for elementary and middle schools. Now, last year, the highest number of distinction designations were awarded in reading and in post-secondary readiness for our district. Now, as stated previously, the district is required to include information on the college-going trends for the reported cohort. That would be the class of 2015 for this report. Additional information such as the first-year grade point average for students at Texas public schools, colleges, and universities can be found within the posted TAPER report, not only on our website but also on TEA. The Texas Coordinating Board identified 56 of our graduates attending Texas Institutes of Higher Education for the class of 2015. However, we look outside of the state of Texas and include information that's provided to us by the National Student Clearinghouse, and we can see that when we include the students that attended a post-secondary education outside of the state of Texas, that number rises to 998, or 61% of high school graduates from the class of 2015 entered into college during their first year after high school. Now, if we were to include the students that opted to take what's known as a gap year, in other words, they graduate from high school, they don't enroll in college for that first year immediately after high school, but they enroll that second year after high school. If we include those students, we can see that the total number of college-going students from this cohort rises to 1,089 students. And that's just over 66% of our students. Next, the Carrollton-Farmers branch takes school violence prevention and violence intervention very, very seriously. There are policies and procedures in place to ensure the safety of our schools and the safety of our students. These include the Carrollton-Farmers Branch Student Code of Conduct, which strictly adheres to Texas Education Code within Chapter 37. It is updated annually to reflect changes from the Texas Legislature, legal precedents, and it also includes input from our district committee. CFB has also developed anti-bullying, harassment, and dating violence policies and procedures. This information and the program procedures are updated. They're disseminated to district staff, students, and parents on an annual basis. And the policy and necessary forms are all readily available on the district's website and through links that are found within our Student Code of Conduct and our Student Parent Handbook, both of which are online. The Texas Academic Performance Report really is a bulk of the annual report after we combine all this information here. And it provides 3 years of historical data involving post-secondary enrollment, post-secondary readiness, STAR performance, and the profile of district students and staff. Well, we touched upon some of the changes in state accountability briefly. Changes to this year's Texas TAPER report primarily include the changes to the STAR performance level descriptors. It also included additional 2016 STAR data that had not been reported in the previous year. The Texas Success Initiative, which you're going to see some of our passing standards on that here in a moment. These are grade level advancement requirements. They were suspended for the 2015-16 school year, so they were removed from this year's TAPER report to take a look to see how those students are doing 2 years beyond. Additional taper changes included the addition of new STAR participation rate. Graduation lines were extended. It used to stop at 4-year and 5-year. Well, the federal government now has a 6-year requirement for graduation rate that we must track. It also includes new information about counts and the percentage of students identified based on disabilities. Mobility rate is now placed in terms of race and ethnicity, which is a new component of the taper report. And lastly, the average years of experience of campus leadership. These are all new for the taper in 2016-17. The STAR results, you know, we've been used to seeing for the last 5 years our STAR results coming annually. Now, they're now categorized by these 4 new STAR performance labels. Does not meet grade level, approaches grade level, meets grade level, and master's grade level. Previously, these performance labels descriptors were simply known as unsatisfactory, satisfactory, and advanced. So we've got a new language here to get used to. These new performance labels were created to be in alignment with the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board's 60 by 30 plan. And that plan is set up to have 60% of the individuals aged 25 to 34 with an industry certificate or a diploma, 2-year or 4-year diploma in the state of Texas by 2030. Subsequently, the meets grade level is aligned to a student's 60% chance likelihood of a student passing an entry-level college course in the area of reading or math as a freshman in college. Master's is aligned to a 75% likelihood of passing a college freshman entry-level course. As we can see, much like accountability, there have been many changes in state testing over the past 5 years. New for 2017 was modifications to STAR online testing for students with or without accommodations, and this replaced a test version known as STAR L and STAR A. Those are no longer given by the state of Texas. Also, due to these changes, a direct comparison from one year to the next continues to be problematic. Every year the test changes, and as a result, we cannot do a direct comparison from one year to the next. But we can look at our student results from last year. The Student Success Initiative is also known as SSI, and it first began in 1999, and it was updated in 2009, and that was the last time it was updated. It requires districts to take a closer look at student performances in the areas of reading and math at grades 5 and at grades 8. Similar to the results for 5th grade, our middle school students also have 3 opportunities to meet their passing standard. However, for accountability, only the cumulative performance through the first 2 tests are reported in taper. So you'll see those reported there, and you'll see the combined report here for both 5th and 8th grade. Unlike students in 5th and 8th grade who have 2 opportunities to retest within a 2-month window, period, May and June, 2 months, students taking an end-of-course test have 3 opportunities to retest within an academic school year. In 2016-17, our greatest gains occurred in English 1 EOC and English 2 EOC. During that fall EOC administration, it's given in December. This is largely due to our literacy coaches, the personalized tutoring, the instructional support staff working alongside with campus teams before school, during school, after school. It is a collective effort to ensure that these students meet the necessary standards that they need for our cumulative performance report. Here is our overall student performance for the spring administration of the STAR and EOC. This includes information on those new labels that we have, the approaches grade level or above, so this includes all students who scored approaches grade level or above, meets grade level or above, master's grade level, as well as the percent of students who meet or exceeds a year's worth of growth based solely on STAR scores. Lastly, post-secondary readiness. This includes our graduation rates, college entrance exam performance such as the SAT and ACT, as well as advanced level coursework that's completed while students are in high school. Based on cohort 2015 and the 2016 college-going trends, Carrollton-Farmers branch outpaced the state and the region in 5 out of 6 post-secondary readiness indicators that are shown here. Comparatively, our highest areas in surpassing the state were in graduation and advanced placement IB test scores, or International Baccalaureate test scores. The TAPER reports posted on the district website includes additional subject area and grade level information on all of the areas that were discussed tonight, and our district and campus TAPER reports can also be accessed on TA's website. If we were to take a closer look now at that inline goal, which is a 4-year graduation rate, our district has experienced tremendous growth over the past 10 years. The 4-year graduation rate for the class of 2007 was 80.4%. The class of 2016 represents our highest 4-year graduation rate at 94.3% of the students in CFB crossing the stage with a diploma in hand. This next chart shows the district's graduation rate, the same chart shown a moment ago, and the district graduation rate is shaded in gray columns. Similar to the overall grad rate, as shown by the line graph, we can see here that the graduation rate for all race and ethnicity student groups has increased substantially as well. I would like to point out that for the class of 2010, you see an asterisk there. Their graduation rate was unreported in what was known as AEIS back then, the Academic Excellence Indicator. It was at a time where they were separating all the different race and ethnic groups into various ones. So there used to be just 4 or 5 that they looked at, then they separated it into. So it was left unreported for that 1 year and that 1 year only. So we're not able to give you a figure for that one. Looking now to advanced placement in IB for the class of 2016, our district surpassed both Texas and the region in our participation rates. And based on the performance criteria, over half of the 11th or 12th graders for this cohort could receive advanced placement or credit upon entering college for scores that they earned while they were still in high school. This concludes our presentation on the district annual report for 2016 and 17.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. When we think about our principles of teaching and learning, one of those principles is that learning takes time. So I'd like, Ms. Parker, if you could go to the slide about post-secondary readiness. When we think about our tests in isolated years, we see areas of growth, areas of need, but when we look at the long view, how we prepare students over the course of their schooling experience, we see a lot to celebrate in terms of our post-secondary readiness. I might not pass a test in 3rd grade, but the experience, the intervention, the work that happens over the course of time, we don't want anyone to be defined by a test when they're 8 years old, right? So we think that there's a lot to celebrate here in post-secondary readiness. The one area that we want to continue growing in is our SAT and ACT participation, as well as our performance, and we're considering offering the SAT at our campuses during the day next year so that students can take that, so that they are taking it in a familiar location, that they're not having to find a new school register, that we could offer it on site. So that is something that we're looking at as a strategy to increase our participation there. If you go to the next, about our graduation rate, I want to commend the remarkable performance of our entire staff. Graduation is a K-12 accomplishment. It's built on the foundation of our elementary into middle schools, and then our high schools really working diligently with our graduation teams and the supports that we put in place. Can you go to that slide?
The graduation,
The graduation rate. To see the growth from an 80% to an almost 95% graduation rate, and really closing the achievement gaps for students over that picture. What we would call this is really autopsy data. It's data from the past 3 years. It tells us a picture of how we're doing. We've been looking at this data since it was released, the day it came out, and have put many strategies in place and have had the board support and help in doing that. And so the big question then is, so what? What does this mean? We have this picture, but what are we doing to continue to increase the trajectory in CFB? We believe that data serves two functions, and that's really to give us hope, and to chart our course, to make us ask questions. So we ask a lot of questions around the data, and I just want to share a few of the strategies that we've put in place in our 2020 district plan. You can see those strategies enumerated there. One of our big focus has been to increase the engagement of our learners, and this board has been very supportive through the increase of access to technology in classrooms. We know that as teachers learn new strategies and shift the locus of control from the teacher to the student and engaging their learning with tools of the 21st century, that we're going to see some implementation dips as teachers work to learn new pedagogy that uses those tools. We've also really been studying the data and seeing where our students are struggling. We've identified across content areas, it's about the critical thinking pieces. And so we have embarked in additional study around critical thinking and seeking some expert thinkers with us in that journey. We have extended our MAP testing from kindergarten through 9th grade. That gives us in-the-moment growth data to help us analyze where our students are, and that's been a move based on this data analysis. We added writing teachers in a writing class for our 6th graders. Our students went from 5th grade having about 120 minutes of literacy instruction, and 6th grade 45 to 50 minutes. And we're going to be sharing more with you at the February work study about the impact of the literacy coaches and writing teachers at 6th grade and literacy coaches at high school. But that's a direct kind of so what response to the data that we see. A long-term move with the board support has been adding pilot full-day pre-K. Strategically, we know that pre-K has an incredible academic benefit to students over time, and so that has been another move that the district has taken in its response as we look at our data. We have started a middle school PSAT camp. We did that last year. And we are offering that again this year. We know that building that post-secondary readiness, we want to start targeting in middle school. For some campuses that have some hurdles, some look at data, we have implemented a campus acceleration process where we're looking at 6 campuses. We have a team that's working with those campuses and quarterly updates with some coaching and additional support. We're also focused on building our career and partnerships and seeking some innovative expansion with Brookhaven to continue building our post-secondary readiness. We know that there's been a shift in thinking that every student increasing their growth every year is really manifest. I think it's the best part of the accountability system that we look at that, and the map does help us to be tuned into our students' progress and growth all the time. Additionally, in our objective 2, because we know the learning environment supports the academic environment, we've had multiple study groups looking at Pedro Noguera's work around equity and excellence, and have also expanded restorative discipline from pilot to really moving that out across all of our campuses, with elements of that being embedded, because we know that it all begins with a relationship. So those are just a few of the highlighted strategies when we think about the data, how our district is moving in response to that. And we're pleased to answer any questions that the board has at this time before we go into public hearing.
Board members, do you have any questions before we go into the open hearing?
I've sat through several years of some of these presentations and the data, and it's just, I just sit here and get so frustrated with the lack of consistency with what the state pushes down to y'all. and then to us. So I commend you for having to deal with all of this and trying to make it make sense to us and to our parents. I mean, I know when I get my STAR report, not mine, I didn't take the test, my kid, it's almost like I need a tutorial lesson to read the thing. And it just, how is a parent supposed to measure or check into their child or their districts or make choices about their school? It's extremely frustrating. So good job.
Thank you.
On trying to normalize it and make sense for all of us.
Mr. Bocek, I would be remiss if I didn't say, just on behalf of the administration, how thankful we are for Patty Parker and her team.
I have a remarkable team. I have a remarkable team.
Yeah.
We're small but mighty. We've got a great team.
She is the most knowledgeable person I know about our accountability system, and so patient with us as we come with questions about all of the changes, because it is very difficult and very frustrating to the principals sitting in the room, to the teachers, and to parents. So,
Ms. Klein?
You were explaining graduation and 6 years, and there was a part where you went and found 900 people that had left. But there's this other one called a 6-year extended longitudinal rate. I'm confused.
So what happens is the federal government is transitioning from No Child Left Behind to ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act. And one of the components of that is to track graduation rates to 6 years. There are certain students.
So like GEDs or
It could include
whatever.
that. It could also include students that are served by special education and some other things that take a little longer to get through the graduation. Or for some students where life happens and it takes them a little longer than the typical 4 years to graduate. So that 6-year begins when they enter into a cohort based on their 9th grade, first year of high school.
And that's not the same as going and finding them in college and
No,
seeing how
no.
they did.
So
That's a different measure.
Right. So we're required to take a look, and the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board does report out specifically how many students in the public, in our district are attending institutes of higher education solely in the state of Texas. And so we do report that. And so it's about 56% of our students that are graduates from that particular cohort went on to college, either at a 2-year or 4-year institution in the state of Texas. But we know that some students opt to go beyond the state lines. And so we want to take a look at those students and ensure that you're well aware of the progress that our students are making collectively beyond just the first year. We do know some of our kids take that gap year. And so we want to make sure you can take a look and see that data and that information.
Thank you.
Any other board members? Ms. Valenzuela, you need,
Yes, please.
go ahead.
Thank you. So are we tracking the mobility rates?
This is the first year, yes, mobility rates are a part of the reports that come through TAPER and through the accountability system. And new this year, when you look at your full TAPER report which is attached to the district annual report, you can see that that's that new area that they've included in terms of race and ethnicity. That's the first time that they've actually reported it in TAPER.
and Ms. Valenzuela, this next year, we anticipate, that was one of the things that we do anticipate will be very clearly tracked in the system, is our student achievement by mobility. For students who have been in the district 2 or more years and students who have been in the district 2 or less years. So we will also see that. In our district, we have some of the highest mobility rates in the state of Texas at some of our campuses, in the top 10% of mobility.
So it's a new component.
Ms. Klein?
Mobility measured by 2 years? Is it 2 years and less or 2 years and more, or what is, how do you track mobility?
Let me share with you the definition based on the state of Texas. Sorry. That's 5 pages just solely on graduation. So mobility. Mobility is the count and percentage of students who have been in membership at a school for less than 83% of the school year, that they miss 6 or more weeks. So they take that number of students from 2015 and 2016, and then they divide that number of students who were membership at any point in time during the 2015-16 school year. And then that rate is calculated at the campus level, and it is disaggregated by race and ethnicity.
So they look at 2 years to see if they
That's
were.
going to be in next year's accountability
Yeah,
system,
right.
the two-year piece. When we look at mobile students, it's the October snapshot date is used to establish if the child is, it's about 6 weeks into the school
Was
year.
there for the school year.
They're there for the school year. So if they're there by that 6th week of October, they are counted as a immobile student. If they weren't there, or if they're there and then they move out and come back, they may be counted as a mobile student. But it's complex because the mobility counts differently if they move campus to campus within the district, or from a campus outside of the district and then back to the district. So all of that has to be tracked.
Oh, wow.
Any others? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I call this public hearing about state accountability and the annual district performance report to order at 9:02 p.m. The board will now hear comments or entertain questions from the audience. Please indicate your intent to speak by raising your hand. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, this public hearing has closed at 9:03. Thank you, Ms. Parker.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next agenda item is number 14. Closed meeting is authorized under Texas Government Code, including but not limited to Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, real property, 551.074, personnel matters, 551.076, security devices, 551.082, school children/district, employees/disciplinary matter or complaint, 551.0821, personally identifiable student information, 551.084, investigation. There are no matters posted for discussion in closed meeting. Therefore, the board will move on to the next agenda item, number 15, comments from board members regarding posted agenda items. Board members, do any of you have comments to wish to make at this time? Mr. Shackman.
We were talking earlier this evening about the addition of fine arts and STEM programs in our stellar programs. I had the opportunity to attend the other night at R.L. Turner High School, our CFB Elementary Honor Choir, representing all 24 of our campuses. Must have been about 80 kids. I didn't try to count them, but what a fabulous presentation. What an amazing group of kids. One of only 3 elementary honor choirs in the state of Texas. What is that, 11 to 1,200 districts? One of only 3 invited to be involved and do a presentation for the Texas Music Educators Convention. Well-deserved to all of our people involved in fine arts. Kudos. Elementary that we have PE and fine arts is amazing. And fine arts is not alive and well. It is thriving in CFB. And folks, it was a great presentation.
That's right. Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Shackman. Any other comments, board members?
I had the opportunity to go to the Signature Fair on Thursday, and it was incredible. And I just want to thank the teachers and the administrators for getting in there and getting it all together and not even looking like you were working very hard at it while you were doing it. The kids had a great time from what I could tell. I think the parents really got a lot of information about our schools, and I think they came away feeling pretty good about our district. And I really look forward to seeing how this program grows from year to year. So thank you so much.
Any other comments, board members? Hearing none and seeing none, Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our agenda, and we are adjourned at 9:05 p.m. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here.